first year, I'd come back home, and at that point in time, just the thought of building something of your own, which really creates impact on the others, that thought was the main motivation factor for me. At that point in time, I thought that I would want to do entrepreneurship. I did not know what, how, etc., etc. That's been a journey for self-discovery as well for me, right? But to start off, Rahul, probably the most important things you would need at this point in time is people whom you can start your journey. Right? Ideas are dime a dozen. Obviously, you will need an idea, something which can be scaled, something which can become big. But the first thing what you need is people to work with, people whom
Yes,
you can
yes,
call your co-founders. And by the way,
yeah,
one also thing which I've observed people do wrong is take the lazy way out, which by the way I also did in my second startup. So my second startup
yeah.
was back at time in Ahmedabad. I chose two co-founders who were my
Mhm.
batchmates at IMA. Probably that was the worst decision, right? Because you would want people who are really there for building the startup and whom you have worked with earlier. It can be a project, it can be your colleagues in office, it can be anything, right? But
Yeah,
not,
people with same vision as you, right?
sorry,
So people with same vision, you have to work with people with who have same vision as you, who have same goals or like that.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. But
Okay, thank you.
also you
Okay.
would have had some experience working with them.
Yeah.
Right? It can be, let's say, a project course as part
Mm.
of your studies, but you need to have that kind of
Yeah.
understanding.
We should have the understanding if you're working together.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, sir. I have sent you and request on LinkedIn. Please accept that. I am taking this as an opportunity.
We'll do that, Rahul.
Thank you so much, sir.
Super.
All right. Okay, so before we start the session, let's just take like one last, let's say, chance for people. If anybody is interested to interact with Ujjwal right now, kindly raise your hand. We'll bring you onto the stage. And after this, we're gonna go straight deep into discussion, a pure deep dive. All right. So this is someone. Sham. Yes.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Hey, Sham. Yes.
Hi, Ujjwal. This is Shyam.
Hi.
Uh, I've been into this supply chain sector. I'm currently doing my final year engineering.
Okay.
Like, how did you get the idea for a tech?
Sorry, your voice broke up, Sham. Can you repeat?
No, no. Like, how did you get the idea for making Nakad? Like, uh,
This.
new
Yeah.
idea.
Right, right, right. So two parts to it. One is the top-down view. The other is the bottom-up view. Firstly, I'll talk about the bottom-up view, which is that. So my father is a chartered accountant by profession, and he was also he had his own set of factories. Right. So all my summer vacations went into seeing those factories and seeing the problem, particularly related to working capital and supply chain. Right. That is where me myself understood that part. Second part is the top-down view, which came from, suppose I'm in Ahmedabad, I joined a company called Boston Consulting Group. Right. So over there, we essentially provided our consulting services to different industries, to different factories, to different banks, NBFCs. That is where the broad level understanding of the problem related to working capital came to be. So that this is a $50 billion industry, $30 billion is the working capital gap, and so on. So the amalgamation of both the bottom up view and the top down view, this is where things really started to happen. But to be very honest, getting the idea, it's never a eureka moment. It never is. It always is a set of conversations. So that's why the earlier question about where to start off, the point of starting off is the team and not the idea, because once you have people whom you can talk to, and that is where things start really getting into shape and refining.
Yeah, like, Ujjwal, like, how did you find the guys for it actually? Like, did you take the first initiative or you find someone with the same passion?
So yes, finding the people with same passion is probably the most important thing. So I found my co-founder Sambhav Jain. He was working with me in the same project at BCG, and that is where I found him.
So actually, I take this an opportunity to say that like I do had a failed startup,
Yeah.
which I got cheap by my friends. I just got cheated by my friend.
Sorry,
Uh,
can you repeat, Sham? Your voice is getting muffled up.
no, actually, I had a failed startup. Like 6 months ago, I had a failed startup. One of
Okay.
my close friends, he just betrayed me.
Okay.
Uh, so we just broke the partnership, and it's been there. That's what like right from the moment I'm just feeling so insecure that like how to choose the right one.
Yeah, and this
Because once you're making into business, you must know that who are you getting in bed with, right?
right. Interestingly, I'll give you one anecdote. Still not prevalent much in India, but so in the book Startup Compass, of course, these are some of the journeys, stories we talk to people about, right? The partner at Y Combinator, so we asked her that how do you look for co-founders? Right? And even before that, what is the importance of looking for co-founders? So she said, interestingly, so she is US based, Anu Hariharan. So she said the longevity of a startup founder is actually more than the longevity of a marriage. That means finding that co-founder is even more important than finding your life partner. And that's the importance, right? You have to give a lot of weightage on trying to understand people, trying to see what things work, what things do not work. I'll give you another example. In fact, she was telling about there's a company called Brex. It's a unicorn based out of US. So she said that for Brex founders, important part, it's not just even finding that people in among the co-founders, but also investors. So that guy used to take a trek with all of his investors even before they invested to see whether that person likes the investor or not. And through that trek journey of 2 3 days is where he understood on whether he likes that he or she investor or not. So that's the importance. It's not that if someone is giving me money, I'll just take it, or if someone is willing to work with me, I'll just blindfoldedly go with that person. It's a much larger commitment.
Like how do you trust someone?
Sorry,
Like how can you mask this?
there again, it's a broader question on what whether your visions are aligned or not, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? And more so, it's a softer decision more than a tangible decision. And that's why the advice which I give, don't choose your friends just because they are your friends. Have a project course with them, or if you're working with them, they must be your colleagues or someone wherein you would have had some kind of professional experience working with them. Once you have that professional experience, then you get to know whether you're vibing with that person or not.
Hey, thanks for this opportunity, Chandan and Ujjwal. Uh, Ujjwal, I just sent you a request in LinkedIn as the previous guy did.
I'll do
If you
that.
could please accept.
Yeah, surely.
Thanks for this opportunity, Chandan.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Bye.
man. Yeah. Cool. I see a lot of people being interested now. Guys, you can definitely talk to Ujjwal, but at the end of the session. So, Ujjwal, are we pumped up? Are we good to go?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Uh, just to check, Yash, are we recording the session? If yes, you could just message me anywhere. Cool. It says yes. Awesome.
Right.
Okay, Ujjwal. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bluelearn Events. This is where we talk about the stories that people actually had, the people that we look up to today. And I mean, I'm serious, guys. Today we have Ujjwal. Ujjwal is someone who's absolutely insane. He's at the top list of India's #1 business seller. He wrote this book called The Startup Compass, which has a story. I mean, which is let's say literally everything that someone needs to understand. Let's say to get a 360-degree perspective about startups. I mean, more than me, it is probably Ujjwal would be really, really good to talk about that. Other than that, Ujjwal recently raised $7 million for a startup called Nakad. So, greetings, Ujjwal. Welcome to Bluelearn.
Thank you so much, Chandan. Really pumped to be here.
Glad to hear that. So, Ujjwal, let's begin. So, the basic question: what is your startup and what do you do?
Yeah. So basically, our startup Nakad is in supply chain finance. Right? Nakad basically means cash, which is literally out there. That if you're an MSME, will help with your financing needs. And the way it works is it's a deep tier supply chain finance solution. Lot of jargon thrown around. Let me simplify that for you. Right. So let's say imagine there is Maruti Suzuki. Now, for Maruti Suzuki, there are over 500 suppliers which give them different parts. Right? Someone supplies them steering wheel, someone supplies them tires, and so on. Now, for each of these supplier, which is called a tier one, there are again set of companies which supply them further raw materials or something. So, for instance, there is for instance, MRF, which supplies to Maruti Suzuki. Now, for making a tire, there are ball bearings, there are rubber parts, and so on, which are supplied by tier twos. Now, what we do is that these tier twos are typically small MSMEs. We provide them working capital through a blockchain based solution. What we do is we understand their cash flows, and through their cash flows, we get to know them, we underwrite them, and provide them capital. As simple as that, Nakad, which means we will give you cash, get on our system, and we will solve all of your working capital needs.
Correct. I think moving forward, based upon a lot of other examples, we'd be able to get this cloud a little settled. So, Ujjwal, just to start with the number 7 million US dollars, and that too raising it from someone like ASIL and Matrix, which are probably not India's world's largest venture capitalists. So, tell me about it. So, where did it start and where is it going? How?
So actually, it was a pretty crazy journey. Honestly, within Nakad, me and Sambhav, we've been working on this for the last almost 2 years. Although we were still in BCG, but we were sure that we would start up. And at that point in time, we started thinking of, we got few of the clients on board. And at that point in time, we started thinking of now we need to raise money. I'm not kidding you, the entire process happened within 4 days. It was so crazy. The pace with which this world moves is really fast. It's actually touchwood. It's actually one of the largest seed rounds of India, $7 million from Axel and Matrix, right, which are world's top venture capital funds. To think of how were we able to raise such a big amount from such marquee investors, you have to think about how do investors think of where to put their money or not. So the way the investors think, there are 4 parts to it: team, market, idea, and monetization. Right? The first part is the team, which is who are the founders, what is their background, where do they come from, how do they think, what is that different understanding which they bring to the table, right? And more importantly, and probably the most important thing in team is their storytelling skills. How are they able to build the vision? How are they able to communicate to the investors? Because, by the way, this is not just required for the investors, but also for hiring purposes. Because you, as a founder, your most important aspect in running the company is finding those finding those people who can take your company from a $10 million company to a $1 billion company. Right? So that's the first aspect. That's about the team. The second aspect is about market, which is how big the market is, how large the market is, because at the end of the day, from VC's perspective, it's a game of bet. Right? Now, if 20 or 30% of the investee companies succeed, they need to make sure that if they would have invested $50 million in the company, the outcome has to be a $5 billion outcome. Right? And for that $5 billion outcome, the size of the industry matters a lot, probably the most. The third aspect is idea, which is how unique the idea is, whether that idea really will make its space in the larger ecosystem, and what are the competitive dynamics around that. And lastly, the fourth aspect is monetization, whether you're able to make money out of it or whether it's just a low unit economics games. So these are the 4 aspects of how VCs think of it. But honestly, from VC's perspective, it's not a checkbox. It's not team ho gaya, yes, market ho gaya, yes, idea ho gaya, yes, monetization ho gaya, yes. That's not the case. The way it works is you have to be super duper amazing at least one thing. If you are not an amazing team, the market has to be probably a $500 billion market. If you do not have that kind of market, your team must be super amazing that come whatever may, you will hit it out of the park. Right? So that's how it works. That's how the VC game works. And just one thing around that. So actually, it's covered in our book, Startup Campus, on how VCs think and actually how should you pitch to the VCs. And probably taking a leaf out of that is what we made our pitch and raised $7 million.
Awesome. And that's exactly where I want to ask you about the book. I was like genuinely, when Shreyans first messaged me that Ujjwal is coming to our server, I was like, okay, that's great. An entrepreneur. And when he told that about your book, I was like mind blown away because it's in the charts #1 of a country. I mean, the bestseller right now. It's above. When I checked it, it was above the book Hard Things About Hard Things. We all know how big that book is, and today Startup Compass has overtaken that. Firstly, congratulations on that. And tell us a little bit about the book, The Startup Compass.
Right. So actually, it started with the series which I had done at IIM Ahmedabad called "How to Start a Startup." Interestingly,
Wait. That was started by you?
yes, that was started by me.
Guys, if you don't know what the series of How to Start a Startup is, this is honestly that single, let's say, guide which almost every single one who wants to start a startup, go and watch it. It's that beautiful piece of let's say series of episodes which are like pretty long, 1 hour to 3 hours an episode, but honestly guys, that is gold in a nutshell. Yeah, Ujjwal, please continue.
So yeah, basically it started with that, and each of the video cumulatively it has I think upwards of 10-20 million views, and that is where it started. In fact, I was talking to my dad back in 2018, and he said that, look, you already have these nuggets of wisdom. Why don't you put this in a book? And the optimistic in me, I said, okay, sure. How difficult it can be, and that's where I started writing the book. Honestly, retrospectively, now I think of it, probably it was it's not that straightforward. It took almost 4 years to write the book, but yeah, here we are at. Basically, the book is a 10-step startup journey, which is on how to think of an idea, how to how to form your team, how to find your co-founders, how to build and launch a product, how to raise money, how to scale it up till the exit. And we got 15 of the biggest entrepreneurs in India to talk about their journey in that structure. So for instance, Girish Muthrubutam of Freshworks, the founder of Freshworks, he talks about how he got the idea of Freshworks. Right? Sachin Bansal of Flipkart and Navi talks about how he goes about hiring people. Right? So for him, the most important aspect is that he will hire only those people whom he feels are better than him. So he says about the finding that A+ team and how he actually assesses people while hiring. Right? Ritesh Agarwal of Oyo talks about scaling up. He talks about how he builds the playbook, how he breaks, let's say the example of if you have one property. Now, in one property, how will you make that playbook? There needs to be AC in each room. There needs to be white sheets in each room. There need to be at least 50 people. So writing that idiotic proof playbook so that whenever a new property comes on board, you're directly able to scale it up and blindfoldedly just go about doing that. Right? So that's how the book is structured. Within the 10-step startup journey, people talk about these 15 entrepreneurs, talk about how did they go about solving for that. So it's the foreword of the book actually is written by Mr. Narayan Murthy, and the book is published by HarperCollins.
And those names are enough to talk about the level to which the book is today. Ujjwal, so as you mentioned about different entrepreneurs talking about their own specific area, let's say everybody has their special sauce, right? Out of all of these things, what is that inspirational story that like blew your mind away, like grabbed all your attention?
Good question. So the most inspirational story for me would be of Deep Kalra. So Deep Kalra is the co-founder and CEO of Make My Trip. So this is back in 2001. At that time, he had started Make My Trip. In fact, they had started Make My Trip at the height of the internet bubble burst. Right. Just to recap, at that point in time, before starting Make My Trip, funding were happening left, right, and center. And after the bubble burst, basically there was no funding, nothing at all. These three people, Deep and two of his co-founders, were working out of Okhla in Delhi. And at that point in time, there was no funding, nothing was working for them, literally nothing. And each day was a battle for them. Each day was whether they should continue with Make My Trip or not. And that continued from 2001 to 2003. At that point in time, Deep and his co-founders thought that, look, if we start thinking of whether to continue or not every day, we will not succeed. Definitely not. So they came up with a very interesting hack. That hack was that for the entire month, they will not judge, they will not question whether to work on Make My Trip or not. They will only come and discuss about this thing at the end of the month. Let's say on 30th or 31st of the month, whether to continue or not. Right? For the rest of the 29 or 30 days, they won't even think about whether they would continue or not. And on 30th of the month, they would think whether they should continue for the next 1 month or not. And the beauty of this hack is if you think of it, instead of making 365 decisions in a year, it actually came to just 12 decisions in a year. So a lot of cognitive overload was actually taken out. That was the first hack. The second hack around that was that they would meet on 30th. Now, among these three people, Keyur, who was the second co-founder, only he was unmarried. The rest of the two folks were married, right? So they would meet on 30th on Keyur's terrace, and they would come, they would sit, they would say, okay, should we continue or not? And inevitably, an old monk would find its way on the terrace, right? And they would end up drinking throughout the night and won't even talk about whether they should continue or not. So on 30th, drinking session, no discussion whether to continue or not. And oops, we're on 1st of the month now, and now they can't discuss. So essentially, for the entire 2 years, they did not even have discussion whether to continue or not, but they just blindfoldedly went on and just built Make My Trip. And here we are. It's an amazing multi-billion-dollar company, which has honestly changed how India travels.
Totally agreed upon that. I mean, this is awesome, especially the drinking part of it. But yeah, all right. Guys, okay, I know that you are loving this session, but not just your presence. There is a no mic section just above the event stage. Can I see number 1 in the chat? Fast. Guys, all we are asking is you to be little responsive. Number 1 in the chat, guys. Okay, if you don't know where it is, you are right now on event stage. Just above event stage, there is no mic section. I want you to be little more active on that. Guys, please. Okay. If you want a chance to interact with Ujjwal, you know what to do. Ujjwal, before we go to the next question, can we give a chance to 2 people who are interested to talk to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Guys, raise your hand. Bring you onto the stage. If you want to ask anything. We're just giving this opportunity for 2 people. That's it. Okay, got it. All right. That's a good number of people. But yeah, let's go by order. Farid, I'm bringing you on stage. Farid. Okay. Doesn't seem like you're accepting that. Okay, fine. Athar, I've just sent you the request. You just need to accept that and you'll be on stage with us. Welcome, Athar.
Hi,
Yeah, sir.
I'm Sayed Athar. Sir, I have one question for you. If
Yeah.
someone is drop out from his college and started his startup and his startup is failed and he want to go for job, he
Yeah.
get job without a degree or get he get a job without any degree.
So, Athar, it has two parts to it. Honestly, the good part is that India's ecosystem has matured enough where it celebrates failures. To be very honest, it's my third startup, and the first two were failed startups. Right? Yet I am able to raise the money I am able to raise. The beauty of it is that failed startups actually teach you much more than what even an educational ecosystem would. That's a very honest answer. However, depending upon job to job, there are certain educational requirements as well, right? But that also changes. That also depends a lot. So for particularly for early stage startups or for startup ecosystem in general, the importance given to education is minuscule. Probably importance given to legacy industries. So, for instance, if you were to apply to Tata Motors or apply to Ambani Group or something, probably over there the importance to education would be given. But to startups, the importance of education is much lower. The importance to your experience is much higher.
Okay, it means he get a job in a startup, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
All the best.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to the next person. I think it is. I don't know how to spell it, but Niharvi.
Harvey. Okay.
Niharvi, yeah. Niharvi, you are on stage. You can unmute yourself, I believe. Okay, fine. So, okay, cool. Let's just bring someone else. Shubham, I've sent you the request. Yes. Can just come on stage now. Okay, cool. Okay. Hi, Sky.
Hi Chandan, for accepting my raise. Yeah, so I have this. Hi Ujjwal sir as well.
This guy.
Yeah. So I have this question like how to find low competition, high ticket market and validate my idea.
Low competition, high ticket item. How do you define high ticket item? What do you mean
Uh,
by that?
a product that can be much more sellable in volume than maybe not a B2B product, maybe a mass market product.
Yeah, isn't that what everyone is trying to find? I mean, if there were a given answer, probably everyone would want to do that. But I'll give you how to. I'll tell you how to think about it. Right now, the first. Let me divide it into two parts on the competition bit because it's also a myth. And I'll tell you why. So there are certain markets which are winners take all market. There are certain markets which are not winners take all market. Typically, B2C places are winners take all market. So, for instance, e-commerce is a winners take all market, right? There will be probably Flipkart, there will be probably Amazon, but not more than two, three players. Right? Typically, B2C are winners take all market. On the other side, B2B typically are not winners take all market. So, for instance, logistics or supply chain finance, etc., are not winners take all market. Let me give an example about that as well. So Sahil Barua, who's the CEO of Delivery. So Delivery is a logistics company, pretty large company. Recently, they did their IPO. And I was talking to him, and he shared this example, which is there in the book Startup Compass as well. He said that at the start, when we started Delivery, we were too much thinking about competition, which is probably the biggest mistake which they did. They were just thinking about competition again and again and not really concentrating on what the customer wants. Logistics is not a winner take all market. While there might be DTDC, while there might be e-commerce express, etc., etc., but it's such a large market that you rather should concentrate on solving for the problem point of the customer rather than thinking about competition. And so first thing first, competition is secondary. Even in B2C, firstly, you have to find your product market fit. Then competition comes. And even in competition, whether your industry is winners take all versus not is what you need to think of, and then think about competition from that perspective. Now, coming to the product market fit, the first thing which you have to think about is from the customer lens. Your idea can never be a solution first idea. It has to be a customer first idea, which is what is the problem point which you're trying to solve. Be very, very clear and crystal clear about what is the problem and then come to the solution. If you think that I will build something from blockchain, that is not how it will work. Because blockchain is again a solution. You have to think about what is the problem, and from there things happen, right? And even before building that product, firstly be sure whether your customers even want that solution. Do a survey, talk to people, and after that build an MVP, minimum viable product. So for instance, for Urban Company, right? Again, Abhiraj, who is the CEO of Urban Company, and again it's covered in the book. The first MVP, you think, what is the first MVP of Urban Company? Just think of it and tell me what that answer would be. So Sky, question to you. What do you think would be the first MVP for Urban Company?
I think the MVP is like easily selling. I mean, I cannot like define the MVP in like tell like what it is actually. That will be a much more better.
So
Ujjwal, is it their cleaning service by any chance?
nope. Again, you're thinking from service perspective. MVP is to assess whether your product works or not. And the way to do that is to see how many people actually want that and then do the service for that. Their first MVP was actually Google Sheet. They said that these are the three services which we have, which is on women cosmetics, nail polish, and something else. And they just had a Google form. They rolled out the Google form, and people filled that form. And whoever found that interesting, they serviced that. That was their MVP. You don't even need to build a website. It was just a simple Google form. That's it, right? And that MVP actually tells you whether your product is working or not. Once you found that product market fit, then you start scaling up.
Okay. I actually learned a lot in very short time. So Ujjwal, thanks a lot for that, and also many congratulations on your book doing so well. Thank you, Ujjwal.
Thanks so much, Kai. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Ujjwal. Shall we resume back to our discussion?
Yes.
Shall we?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Guys, guess what? There is something special for you all at the end. I mean, I'm really excited, but yeah. So I just want you to be there because this is not something which everybody can get access to. So yeah, let's just wait for that. Cool. Ujjwal, coming back to the stories that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we talked about the inspirational stories from the book, right? These are from the life of people whom you have interviewed or let's say came across. But now let's talk about you. So what is that one centric story that moved you or let's say motivated you to be who you are today?
Okay, let me actually give it a thought. One at least, of course, in any entrepreneurial journey or otherwise, right? And it's not just for me, but for everyone. There are always struggles, right? But the beauty of it is once you go through those struggles, and then when you look back, those are probably the most beautiful moments. Probably the most beautiful moment for me will be is now back in 2013. So I had come back from IIT Guwahati. This is 2013, precisely 6th of June 2013, and I was having a conversation with my father. So he said that, look, you want to be an entrepreneur? Why don't you plan to do MBA? I said, yeah, I would want to do MBA, but not right now. 3-4 years down the line and from outside India. And he said, sure, do from outside India, but at least give CAT, do interview, etc., which will help you prepare for that. And the rebellious one inside me, I said, no, I do not want to do that. And he said, no, you should do that. Like all fathers just pushing their sons and daughters. But still, I really was not that much into. But yeah, okay, fine. I gave CAT. CAT was decent. Somehow I got a call from IIM Ahmedabad. This is so I thought, okay, fine, let me give the interview for IIM Ahmedabad. And then I honestly started thinking that doing MBA from India is actually much more helpful than doing MBA from outside, because eventually I would want to start up in India itself, right? So the network, the understanding of the Indian ecosystem is much better if I were to do MBA from India than from outside. But my percentile was not that great. Out of almost 850 people called for the interview, my rank was 820, because my CAT score was okay. It was not great, right? And 200 people were to be selected. Now I gave the interview. Again, the interview was decent. On 15th of April 2014, the results came out, and I was waitlist one. Waitlist one every year gets through. Right? So in IIM Ahmedabad last year, waitlist one got through. I mean, 28 people had gotten through. The year prior to that, 37 people had gotten through, and so on. I thought that, okay, fine, this is wonderful. I've gone through IIM Ahmedabad, I'm waitlist one. Right? Obviously, it'll get through. So I resigned from my job because there were 2 months of notice period. And with my luggage, with my parents, I landed up in Ahmedabad to get the admission. And I enter into the campus, I go directly into the admission office, and I was told that waitlist one till now hasn't moved yet. Obviously, I was still shocked that how can this happen? Waitlist obviously moves. I went to meet the dean, and he said that don't worry, many people are yet to come. And if any one of them doesn't come, we'll give the seat to you. So you don't worry, you will get through. You start attending classes. And I was given a dorm room. I thought, okay, wonderful. I got the dorm room. I started attending classes. I actually got ragged as well, because the first year I get ragged, right? So that ragging, etc., everything happened. And after 9 days, I was told that everyone in IIM Ahmedabad has come and I need to go back home. I
mean, that was so flip of the story. But yeah, Ujjwal, what happened next?
I was shell shocked what happened. Like literally, I lost my shit. I could not understand. And like in front of me, I thought that my life now has gone. Nothing can happen. I should probably not even go back to Delhi, because each of my relatives, each of my friends, my neighbors, everyone knew that I've gotten into IIM Ahmedabad. And now coming back, I could not even show my face to anyone. But at that point in time, I thought that whatever happened has happened. It's probably for the best. And I did the entire process again. I gave CAT again. I gave interviews again. I did everything again. And I got into all the IIMs next year. In fact, next year, I'm in Ahmedabad. I was rank 1 to enter. So that 1 year of struggle from waitlist 1 to rank 1.
Beautiful. That is indeed an insane story. I mean, honestly, that would have, I think this story stays on forever. Yes.
So yeah, that basically edged this thing in my life. The journey about perseverance. But come what may. Now, when you have that, जब जुनून आता है ना अंदर, जुनून ही होता है जो which takes you places.
Correct. Okay, well, so I mean, in your book, and I believe you mentioned around 15, 16 prolific founders of India. Yes, 15, right? Yeah. So you talked about these insane founders, really good founders, and what is that one trait that is common among them?
See, that's also a pretty interesting question, Chandan. You would always think of that these are 15 ultra successful founders. What's that common trait? In fact, I remember when I was in BCG, the same question my MD had asked me, that you have interviewed these 15 biggest of entrepreneurs. What is that one trait common among all? And that got me thinking. Interesting, there is none. There is not even a single trait which I would say is common among all the 15. But there is there is this thing which is that they are incredibly amazing at least one thing. There is at least one thing where in India probably they'll be in the top 10, 20 or 100 India. And that is the thing which sets them apart. That is the thing which makes them reach to the heights of success where they have reached. As an example, Narayan Murthy, right? We all know about Narayan Murthy building Infosys and probably the godfather of the entrepreneurship in India. Narayan Murthy, his one thing which sets him apart is his perfectionism. So I'll give you the example. So Narayan Murthy, so we had told that Mr. Murthy, we just have 1 week and we need your forward within 1 week because the book will go into printing. Within 1 week, he actually churned out 9 different versions of the forward. He just kept on iterating, and the 9th version was the ultra perfect version. In fact, in the last version, there was one mistake, ideologue, that is it, right? And he wrote a very long mail that I'm really sorry, this is the last version I'm sending out, and there was one mistake I found out. Now it's my I'm so old now and I could not see this earlier. And that was just one small thing which he found wrong in the last version and which he sent us. So his level of perfectionism is unmatched in India. Let me take about the example of Kunal Shah. So Kunal Shah, the founder of Cred, earlier founder of Free Charge, his level of networking is unmatched in India. He would literally know every who's who of India, be it from Mukesh Ambani to anyone. You talk about anyone, and by the way, not just in India, but across the world. You talk about anyone, he would be connected to that person. Right? Let's talk about Sachin Bansal, the founder of Flipkart and now the founder of Navi. His level of aspiration and ambition is unmatched. Even when in 2010, 2011, when Flipkart was just a small and upcoming company, his vision was actually to build $100 billion company. 500 million will not do, a billion will not do, a 10 billion will not do, only 100 billion will do. Right? And I just talked about the story of Ujjwal Kalra, his level of perseverance, battling 2 years without even batting an eye. It's unmatched. And that's the common trait among all of these people, is that they would be so stupendous, so insane across at least one thing. That is what sets them apart.
Correct. And that is truly a beautiful answer. And I believe these are a few questions that I had based upon like the research that I did. Other than that, I think Ujjwal, so would you like to tell something to the audience?
So in general, very short bit, which is about entrepreneurship. So I've been now in the entrepreneurship space for the last 10 years. Right? And we always think about where do I get the idea, where do I get the team, how do I build the product, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, guys, all of you are still very early in your professional journey, right? In fact, most of you are yet to start your professional journey. Entrepreneurship is actually a journey. It's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And that is how you have to think about your entrepreneurial journey as well. Have that zeal, have that rigor, have that vigor that at some point in time you would want to start up. And even some of you who've already started up, right? Don't think about that. I will be able to crack this code. I will be able to build product market fit in the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's always a journey. It's never a sprint. It's always a journey, and you always learn from that journey. Right? That's the only nugget of wisdom I can share with you. But yeah, on building the startup, yet I'm also in early stages of building my startup. Although I have raised a good amount from marquee investors, but honestly, even for me, interviewing these 15 people, understanding their journey has been probably the most life-changing experience for me, right? In fact, in the last board meeting I was having with these investors, and we were talking about scaling up, how will we scale up, etc. In fact, I was giving them quotes from Ritesh Agarwal on how he scaled up and therefore how we should scale up. Right, so that has been a life-changing experience for me as well. And yeah, that's how the book still in early stages is. It's a #1 bestseller. But for all of you who are really interested in building your journey, in going through that entrepreneurship route, would I'm definitely sure you would love the book. And yeah, please do buy the book. And if you like the book, put it on social media, tag me. Would love to hear how you found the book.
Awesome. Ujjwal, so we are officially done with the formal event, but do you want to announce it to them about the grand book giveaway?
Yeah. So, guys, we're planning a book giveaway, and we would have two kinds of competitions in place. One for those set of people. So there were a lot of interesting stories discussed today. That on social media, and we will see that which story is the most entrenching one or the most exciting one, and we will give that book giveaway. The second book giveaway will be again post a story, and cumulatively across your social media from Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or Facebook, or YouTube, whatever, put wherever, and whichever gathers the most momentum, the most number of likes, again, we will give the book for free to you.
Guys, and don't worry, it's extremely easy. It's not only the number of likes that we're looking at, but also equivalently, as Ujjwal previously mentioned, we are also looking the greatest takeaways that you had and mention it over the, let's say, that specific text. We are really looking forward to it. The way you enter into this competition, I mean, this giveaway is basically by you post the, let's say, the picture of the session or anything, and then you tag @Ujjwal on his Instagram account. At the same time, Bluelearn, so that it will be easy for us to go through your work. Okay.
Yeah. Super.
Ujjwal, there's someone who's asking this from the chat. What common thing in execution you found in common in majority of founders you met apart from hard work? Okay. What founders worked on the field? Okay. So I think Ritam's stories was talking about. Apart from the factor of hard work, what is another variable that has been, let's say, subtle yet significant in these startup founders?
Probably the most significant one is building your team. Probably the most significant one, right? Now I'll tell you why that is most important, because at the end, you won't be able to do everything. You have to rely on people. So as a founder, you can give directions. As a founder, you can say that this is how things will happen. As a founder, probably you can also code for a few lines and so on and so forth. But eventually, the startup is built by a team of people and not by individual. So finding those people who are really, really aligned with your vision and who are really good at that job. By the way, even if it takes 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, but finding those people who can really work their ass off and work with you to build probably a world-changing company. That is, in fact, that's the biggest risk as well as that biggest pivotal moment for any startup journey.
Correct. Okay. Guys, how many of you are interested? Let's say, firstly, for the book giveaway. Can I see #1 in the chat at least? Guys, just put number 1 in the chat if you're interested and excited about this book giveaway. It's extremely easy. All you need to do is just like take a screenshot, take a picture of this session, put it out there on social media platforms that you are on, and then tag people. One is Bluelearn, at the same time Ujjwal. So we'd love to go through that. One is basically the highest traction, is gonna get a couple of books. At the same time, we are also giving books for people who have written real good stuff. Let's say your best takeaways out of this session. At the same time, Ujjwal, shall we go for a one-on-one discussion with everyone? Would you like to interact with the audience?
Sure, happy to.
Awesome. Rather than having it on stage, I think it would be awesome to get into a VC. Ujjwal, can you get into? Okay, just one second. I'm putting the link in the chat. It'll be easy to go there. Just one second. Okay. Guys, just check the no mic section. I'm like pasting a link. Just get on here and you will be able to interact with Ujjwal. Ujjwal, we can just hop onto there.
Yeah, I'm joining that. Thank you, guys.
Guys, honestly, you can talk to him right over there. He's the man. $7 million is not an easy game, and that too from the world players. So yeah, that is the session for today. Thank you so much for coming. But in case for the listeners and people who are watching it on YouTube or any other platform, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to interact with the top tier 1 best minds of the country, this is where you got to be. Bluelearn, India's largest student community. My name is Chandan, and this is Team Bluelearn. See you in the next one.